Call to order. I apologize for a few minutes behind schedule. We had an executive meeting prior to this to discuss personnel and litigation issues. Prayer. Will you bow your head as I pray? Dear Father, thank you on behalf of all who have gathered here today. Thank you for your many blessings. Thank you for the ability to be involved in such useful work and for the honor of bearing our civic responsibility. I pray for the protection of our police officers and emergency responders. Please keep them safe as they risk their lives in response to our calls for assistance. I pray for the protection of our highway workers. Please watch over them as they keep our town clean and neat. I pray for our mayor and our fellow members of council. I'm asking you that you will grant us the wisdom to govern in the best interest of our citizens, the confidence to do what is good and fitting for our town, and the ability to work together in harmony even when there's honest disagreement. I pray for the agenda set before us today. Please give us the assurance that our decisions will benefit those who live and work in our beloved town of Eddystone. This in your name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark, roll call, please.
Mayor Reeves. Here. Ms. Thompson.
Here.
Stanisher.
Here.
Ms. Reeves.
Here.
Mr. Patterson. Here. Ms. Gross.
Here.
Donahue. President Stewart.
Here. Rainbow, Miss Patty, welcome back. We're glad that you're able to join us for another week. As promised, the weather is a lot nicer this evening than it was last Monday, and with the nicer weather, we've brought out a nice crowd for you this evening. But we'd like to introduce Rainbow. Rainbow is with the St. James Regional School, and she's here to present to us information about the Bulldog Dash.
Thank you. So we really look forward. This will be our second annual Bulldog Dash. Last year we had a very successful 5K and a 1 mile fun run. So we look forward to hosting our second annual one on April 5th. It will be held at the Doghouse. We have several new added highlights this year. Everything is free unless you want to participate. But we have a moon bounce that is free, face painters. We have our celebrity MC, Mr. Yuki Washington, will be here as well. There will be a DJ. The Doghouse will be open. We'll have a snack bar. This is at no cost to the residents. Everything is being paid for through our association. We have a flyer in the back if anybody is, oops, a couple of flyers. If anybody's interested, we have flyers in the back, and then we're hoping that all the residents will get one of our little half-sheet flyers. There's a website on there, Bryn Mawr Running Company, if anybody's interested in signing up. There's also a discount for all Eddystone residents, $5 off of the fee. And that's short and sweet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Members of council, any questions for Rainbow?
There's one minor change. In the packet, there is, we talked last week about changing up the course just a little bit. That's not changed in the packet that you've handed out tonight.
Okay.
But there's a couple of minor issues. We had a couple of alleyways that had to be changed to streets. We're not running through any alleyways. And then the start is 1 block off, I believe. But that's already been changed and passed through the mayor. Thank you.
We'll follow the course ranger's direction, I'm
That's
sure.
right.
Public forum, Miss Marianne Slosh.
Yes, I just have one question about this tanker, this oil that you think is coming in.
Sure. Miss Slosh, can I get your address, please?
Oh, 1315 13th Street. Who gave them the permit to put this this facility in? Who signed the permit? And how come we as residents did not know beforehand that it was coming? Like they told us about the crusher, and nobody knew about this. Did it come from higher up than Eddystone that said that, you know, to have this permit, or who signed that permit? Who gave it to them? without telling anybody? Does anybody know?
The Eddystone Rail Company is actually operating on the property of Exelon. It's actually a repurpose of the site since the were they furnaces that were idled.
Right, the old coal furnace.
Yeah.
They've idled those down now, and the site was identified because of the fact that it had an existing rail loop, as well as a dock facility where you could bring barges in place. It was identified as an ideal location to put a facility of this nature into place. The rail company went through the permitting process both at the county level as well as at the state level. The rail company has also come in and they've had a series of public outreach meetings that was open to the public. So, you know, it's not as if we woke up one morning and all of a sudden the rail company was in place there. It is something that has been discussed at the development stage as well as through construction. I did see that you were in attendance at the meeting on last Wednesday, which was a rail safety hearing, making sure that the transport of the crude by rail material coming in to Eddystone was done in the safest manner. You know, so it has been a process. They absolutely were fast-tracked in the construction. I believe that they broke ground just about a year ago. However, they did go through all the necessary processes of getting all of their permits at the county level, the state level. They also got all their permits through Eddystone during construction.
And we didn't know anything about it. That's the thing. You know, like, this is a very small place. And normally it goes buzz, 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 buzz. Everybody calls it. Nobody knew about this. And this is a very dangerous thing. What about the fumes? This is a very dangerous thing. Are we going to have, or are they going to have, because they're only 20% of those boxcars are the newer ones with the triple wall and everything else. What happens if they don't use those 20% and they start leaking all the way down? Is this train coming through Philly, or is it coming up from Delaware? Where is it coming from?
The train itself, the origin is at the Balkan region in North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
So it is coming all the way from North Dakota down to the Philadelphia area. The material that is being transported into the Eddystone Rail Company, it's going to be coming from Philadelphia. They're going to cross. They're going to cross the regional rail tracks through SEPTA. Their opportunity window for crossing is between 12:30 at night and 4:30 in the morning. Once they cross the regional rail lines, they go into the Conrail Chester secondary system. Conrail will control the dispatch of the train, with the transporters either being CSX or Norfolk Southern, and it'll come into the rail facility.
Now, it doesn't come anywhere like, it's not that train right next to 95, is it?
No.
No.
It's coming, in other words, the train's not going to come into Eddystone, it's going to come this way.
Yes.
It's not going to come into Eddystone.
Correct.
Another question I have is with our firehouse. We have really good guys there.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to put in safety precautions and pay for it in our firehouse?
Yes.
I know we have foam, but we don't have enough foam. Not for a large thing like that. And they said it's going to take them an hour and a half to get their fire company and the emergency personnel moving. And so we have to maintain it until they decide what they're doing. Now, will they put all that equipment for free into our firehouse to help our firemen?
There's essentially two areas of concern that I have personally. Is that you've got the material once it gets into the Eddystone Rail Company. Okay, they're the handlers during the transport. So Eddystone Rail Company, when it enters into their facility, the material will be unloaded from the tank cars. It will be put in a temporary tank, which is one of the existing tanks that was on the Exelon property, and then transferred the barge before it will go out to its final destination, which is one of the refineries. That is a brand new state-of-the-art transfer facility. So every safety measure in the industry has been incorporated into the Eddystone Rail Company. Enbridge, who is a rail transporter as well as a pipeline contractor. They're going to operate the facility, so Enbridge is very familiar with the materials that are coming in. A company by the name of RailServe is actually going to be doing the physical unloading of the cars. Several of the residents in Eddystone have been employed by RailServe. Some of those residents happen to be volunteer fire company
Now,
members.
are they going to have, when they unload, because I have been in many of these different type of facilities, not with this type of oil, are they going to have a fire unit right there? Is there a fire unit on the property that could respond, you know, in case there's an oil spill, in case there's a spark, and stuff like that, or are they going to just rely on all of us?
On the property itself, they have a fire suppression system. So once they activate the fire suppression system, if it's something that's minor in nature, that fire suppression system will contain the fire. However, as part of their emergency response plan, Eddystone Rail Company has developed a plan to where if they need assistance from Eddystone Fire Department or Tenacombe or even Ridley Township, there's a mutual aid agreement to go in there and jointly fight that particular fire.
Okay, keep your fingers crossed.
The other point of concern that I have personally is with Conrail. You've got Eddystone Rail that is a TWIC facility. That is a secure facility. So there's federal requirements and regulations that there's security that's in that area. The materials coming from Philadelphia area down into Eddystone, we have not yet developed the same elaborate emergency response plan with Conrail as we have with the Eddystone Rail Company. However, there are meetings that are scheduled here this week to where Conrail, they have a plan in place. It has just not been a site-specific plan for if something was to happen in, say, Eddystone or Tenacombe or Ridley Township, how would we deal with that? But that meeting is occurring this week, and I would say by the end of this week, we would have that same comprehensive emergency management plan with Conrail as we do with the Eddystone Rail Company.
My last question, we have volunteer firemen here.
Yes.
Say, God forbid, there's something up there that's going to keep them on duty, say 2-3 days. Will they cover the cost of them not being able to go to work?
Yes.
They definitely will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just so our firemen are going to be taken care of. Okay, thank you.
I know there are some members of the fire company that's in attendance, if anybody would like to elaborate on my comments.
What's the question, Mr. Stewart?
I wouldn't necessarily have a question, it's just whether I captured accurately the relationship that Eddystone Fire Company has with the Eddystone Rail Company.
Yes. They do have in a facility now, they have a bladder tank of 700 gallons of 3% foam. They'll mix 3% in with the water supply through hydrants throughout the facility with monitors built into the hydrants. That'll hit the storage tank, the rail cars, and they also have a unit on the dock for the barge as well. They also supplied Eddystone and Tenacombe Township with a 660-gallon foam trailer each department, and they have a written contract with National Foam out of King of Prussia. Approximately 30-minute response time, which 700 gallons plus the 660 is around about 1,400 gallons of foam. Lasts a substantial amount of time. It will allow National Foam to come down with resources that we need to fight any fire out there.
When you you just said you mix it in the fire hydrant itself. Is it like, would you take that foam and take it down there and mix it, or do you mix it and it goes in all the fire hydrants?
Now, there are certain hydrants that are just strictly water, and the hydrants with the monitors built in have a mixture system built into the pump house where we'll actually mix the foam, 3% of foam into the water that's feeding that hydrant. Now, we do have several hydrants down there with a 20-inch main, allowing us a great amount of water supply to supply the apparatus and hose lines, etc.
And you would how'd you get the foam down there?
We would tow it by vehicle.
Oh, okay.
For the foam that we have, the foam that they have is stored on the facility at all times.
and you could use that?
Yes, we've used both systems hand in hand.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Our Emergency Management Coordinator, Bob Gleam, has also joined us this evening. So, Bob, is there anything that you'd like to add, or did I capture the plan pretty well?
Pretty well nailed it. I mean, my primary concern would be the 8 million gallon storage tank, if there was an issue with that. There's nothing that Eddystone has or Delaware County has that would extinguish that fire if it was a full-blown boiling liquid tank fire down there. So it would take quite some time to get the resources in there to, to try to combat that. That's why we're making extra precautions to make sure that tank is, they're modifying the tank. They're putting a floating roof within the tank because this type of crude gives off natural gas. You can't have any natural gas fumes in there. You could have an explosion. So we're making sure that this tank is going to be completely safe, completely rebuilt and inspected before they put any product in there. So that's another thing that we're constantly working on.
Does PICO have a problem with this?
No, they're leasing the tank from, it's not PICO, Exelon owns the property. PICO is just a distributor of the power, so it's Exelon Energy owns the property. They're leasing one of the old crude oil tanks from Exelon to put the, or not crude oil tank, I'm sorry, it used to be, they had two existing 8 million gallon number 6 fuel oil tanks down there to supply the one plant. The plant now can either burn oil or natural gas. One of those tanks are going to abandon and lease to Enbridge for the storage of these crude.
This is what they're going to put in there. Has anybody looked at the tank and said, it's been down there a long time?
Right. Well, that's what we're doing now. We're making sure that that tank is totally refurbished. They're installing a floating roof within the tank. And we have to make sure that the floating roof is bonded, electrically bonded, because if there's, a bolt of lightning could hit that tank, and if there's any natural gas fume, it's going to go kapow. So we have to make sure that all that is in place and make sure that everything is working perfectly before we allow any product to be put into the tank.
What kind of, is there an odor from this? I know the
No,
oil.
the tank, it's a dome tank now, so the tank is totally enclosed. But they're putting a floating roof within the tank to float on the surface of the crude oil to minimize any natural gas vapors that would come off of the crude. And that's to keep any explosion hazards to a minimum. The space between the floating roof and the dome on the tank is going to be well ventilated, so that there's no possibility of having any type of a natural gas buildup in there. And also, all the components of the tank have to be bonded, electrically bonded, so that there's no chance of any static electricity, sparks from static electricity, or nearby bolt of lightning triggering any type of a fire or a static spark down there, within the tank itself.
And you're comfortable with your men that they're going to be able to learn and do?
Well, they're doing several training sessions with the fire company on how to handle these types of fires. If it's a small fire, a small leak, or a small fire, that's not too much of a concern. My concern is the 8 million gallon storage tank.
Yeah.
That would be.
Now, is this far enough away from the city, from our borough, that if it goes up, it's not going to take out the village or whatever? I mean, is there any, say if there was a chance that maybe you saw a leak or something, is there any way to drain that tank into another facility?
No, they have secondary containment around the tank, which is another steel wall around the tank that will hold 120% of the volume of the tank, because it has to hold the total volume of what's in the tank, plus if they apply any firefighting water to it, it's got to be able to hold that too before the thing overflows. So that's what the secondary containment does. Now, if that is breached somehow, then who knows where it's going to go. My guess is it would end up out in the river.
And they have people, when you're going to take the oil from the tank to the tankers that are going to be docked in the Delaware, are there going to be people there watching it?
A lot of it is automatic, but there's going to be people there. There has to be operators down there to maintain the equipment, to operate the equipment. and they've got fume detection equipment throughout the whole facility, so if there's any type of a leak, they'll know almost instantly that there's a problem. And they have some containment equipment down there, they have booming, and they're part of they joined the Delaware River Bay Cooperative, which has booming equipment all up and down the river for the refineries and everything that they can put in place almost immediately. So I mean, they are very safety conscious, Enbridge, and in fact, they go over above what they're required to do, safety-wise, because an incident down there could cost them millions. And they don't want that. So right off the bat, let's be extra careful to make sure that this never happens. Everybody's going to be happy. The residents are going to be happy. Enbridge is going to be happy. The consumer of the product is going to be happy because there's not going to be any interruptions. So let's do it right the first time. And
In any of their facilities, have they ever done anything that proves that the vapor that's coming off and emitting into the air is not detrimental to anybody's health?
They're by federal law, they're not allowed to emit any vapors. In other words, when they offload the train, they have to have vapor recovery. Whatever they put in the tank, the vapors that come out of the tank are going to go back into the cars that they're offloading. So they're taking product out, and the vapors are going back into the train, back into the rail car. Same way with a barge. Okay, when they load a barge, you just can't have all those fumes floating down the river. They have to have vapor recovery. So the crew goes in one pipe, and the vapors come out another pipe and go back into the storage tank. So they're just, whatever they take out of the tank, they're putting back in fume-wise. So there should not be any release of any fumes anywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Again, unless there's an issue.
We're not having any.
Well, we don't want any.
I'm too old for issues.
Ms. Slatcher, just to give you some additional comfort is that the entire construction process, the laying of all the new track, the installation of all of the safety features, the fire suppression system, the retrofit of the tank, on a daily basis, we had construction inspection oversight by Catania Engineering. So Catania, they've provided the Borough of Eddystone with the assurance that everything was built in accordance with the plans and specifications that were presented by Enbridge. And I can let you know that the safety measures that are in place exceed the industry standards. And then lastly, I just want to note, and sometimes you throw numbers out in the defense of the rail companies themselves, when they are hauling hazardous material and this crude by rail, the light sweet bulk and crude oil that's going to be coming into this transfer facility, their safety record is 99.97%. So, it's a safer operation than the airline industry right now. But there's always that percentage that something could potentially happen. However, I can give you assurances from this table that, we as a Borough Council, the emergency management folks, the Eddystone Fire Company, we've reached out to the folks that are bringing this material into our town, and we've established that partnering relationship, and we have an emergency management plan, God forbid that there is an incident.
Just one last question, money-wise. What kind of taxes, will they be able to pay the borough? What are we going to get out of this, or if anything?
Well, you've got a property that the value of that property has significantly increased now because of the facility that's sitting there, so we get the property taxes based on the value of that property. To tell you the exact number, I'm not sure. Mr. Catania, I believe it was somewhere close to $100 million worth of construction activity down there.
That's what we were told, yes.
If we get enough money from the taxes couldn't we cut out our borough taxes and you use it for, I don't know. I just think it's a great idea.
Like Alaska.
We count
Yeah.
we count on stabilizing your tax base, and that keeps us at the table every 4 years.
We've actually held the line on taxes for 7, so I mean.
Yeah, but then if they are going to pay us a lot of money, why can't they pay our taxes? I'll talk to them.
Commissioner Wilson, follow-up question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that one of the things that they said at the meeting was that the town can't tax them buy something for every gallon that they bring into the town. There's like federal laws that restrict us from that. So,
Excise tax.
however, I would think that there are ways of increasing our income from them. In terms of, I know that they have already they have an established grant program for the towns where they operate and things like that, and that maybe we should look at that closely. That's on the Enbridge website. I wanted to say that the oil, I know that, not to minimize the chance of something happening with the oil tank, but the oil, and I know that it's being changed, so there you could introduce something even though they're trying to make it safer, but apparently the oil tank has been there full of oil for decades. So, you know, that aspect is not changed all that much that I can see. I would say that one of the concerns I have is that in the future we keep an eye on their plans to expand and whether or not we need to encourage that or if we want to discourage that, because one of the things they're thinking about doing is extending the loop so that it comes out through the Fomex property and back up to Pico. And that would bring those rail cars much closer to the village than they are now. Right now they're on the mainline railroad, and as soon as they hit our border, they're getting off the mainline railroad onto their property, as soon as they come across that river. But the more rail cars they have and the closer they get to the populated areas, I'd be more concerned about that. So I'd like to encourage council to be aware of what might be going on there.
Maybe they could put something in there saying you can only bring those rail cars X amount of thousands of feet to homes, or something like that.
That's a possibility. The other possibility, which I think is one that you know, the borough and council in particular ought to address, is finding something to go into that Fomex property. If you get something in there and put that property to use, it won't be available to expand, you know, oil tank cars into the village. If we find a good sort of business to go in there, even if Penn Terminals expanded over there or brought some completely new business in there, that property would be generating more tax revenue, might be providing jobs in the borough, but at least it would be. Right now we have the opportunity to take that Fomex property and put a good business in there. In the past, we almost ended up with what, in my opinion, was going to be a bad business going in there. So if we're proactive on that and we have a plan, we can recruit a good business to go in there. And then we have control over what happens on that property rather than just being subject to whoever thinks they can make a quick buck on it.
First, I'll note that the expansion of the rail company is very much in the conceptual stage right now. You know, there's been some drawings that have been rendered about the possibility of the expansion, but I will respectfully disagree with your statement about, you know, putting a good business there. In my personal opinion, I think the Eddystone Rail Company is a good business, and, you know, as long as their expansion does not, you know, cause any additional safety concerns to the residents, I would personally support that expansion at this time, with the understanding that, you know, it is a loop, and as it being a loop, you still have the entire interior of that loop to put other businesses besides the Eddystone Rail Company in there.
Not if it has a mile-long train encircling that interior.
But that's only at nighttime.
Well,
We
they have
need a
to bring the
daytime
train in,
business.
they have to unload the entire train
We
and
need
then
a
take it
Krispy
out.
Kreme place to make donuts.
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Cracker
Looking
Barrel.
at rail crawls at Cracker Barrel.
Aren't they going to build on 291? I heard they're going Cracker Barrel's moving into 291.
Up by Boeing, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Not
I just
Boeing. That's what I heard.
I just want to say that you know, I know, because I'm interested in railroads and I stay up on environmental things, that I know that this whole transporting crude oil by rail is kind of a dangerous thing. The reason they're doing that is that it's much cheaper and easier to transport it by rail than it is to build a pipeline anywhere. So I know that there are dangers with this, but I've been generally supportive of this operation, whereas I was very much against the Camden Metals thing. My only concern is that to me, it's one thing if it's up in Pico, it's another thing if it's right in the village there. That's just my feeling, that I'd rather not have the potential for this kind of conflagration, this big fire, be right across the street from people living in the village. But, you know, that's just my opinion.
That's probably safer than some of the stuff that comes through Penn terminals, correct?
We used to have,
Let's not open up a can of worms.
I'm saying
It's
that
not been
high
too bad. The
explosives
last
going
thing
through
they had was
Eddystone,
they had
Yeah, and that's
and we had to have the evacuation. Are they forgetting about that?
Oh, I thought you were talking about this.
How long ago was that?
Not long.
Shipped directly to Canada.
Well, we're old, you know.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, how long ago was that?
But I mean, in the past, we have had stuff go through there.
That was very dangerous.
Ms. Schlosser, thank you very much for bringing your concerns to council.
Thank you.
Anthony Tinney,
I have a couple.
if you want to come up to the podium and give your address, please.
Address is 907 Seville. I just have a couple things. One thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you move to a new state or new town, are you supposed to re-register your car and plates to the town? Are you make a residency, or do we? Because we keep giving these neighbors of mine, you know, the temporary stickers, and they've been living here almost a year now. That's just one thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought by state law you have to transfer everything over to.
You want to answer that question?
Like, we keep giving the 30 days, 3-month stickers or 30
They
days.
don't have tags on their vehicle from the state of Pennsylvania.
One's Kansas and a couple are from Jersey. One's from PA, but not.
They're paying for their stickers every month.
Okay. So they don't have to, even though they've been living here almost a year, they don't
There's
have
no
to.
requirement for them to actually do it. You know, do temporary residence or whatever.
Okay.
We have an ordinance that's on the books that essentially says, okay, you've established residency in Eddystone. For whatever reason, if you're, you know, let's just say it's a vehicle that's owned by a company, and that company is
Yeah, I understand
headquartered in
that.
Kansas, if you've been able to prove that, you know, you live in Eddystone, that, you know, that company vehicle is for your exclusive use, that vehicle is registered and it is inspected, there is
Now that's just
language
for,
on our code that says you can pay for a temporary parking sticker so that you don't have to worry about getting ticketed.
so that's just for company vehicles only, or is that for
That
their own
would be
personal?
for anybody. It's just like I own property down Delaware. If I have my vehicle registered in Delaware, I can't get a sticker in VA here because my tag's on from Delaware. So I have to get a temporary.
However, you can get a temporary tag. If you wanted to register your truck in Delaware, because you've got a property in Delaware, you can do that, but you have to pay for your sticker.
Alright, and another thing is, we have the ordinance for the no skateboarding, we have no loitering signs. Several times since summer last year up until now, the kids were skateboarding, riding right out in the traffic. Called the cops several times. Actually, the other day, one of the cops, after I called him, almost ran the kid over because the kid ran out and skateboarded right out in the street. Since we have an ordinance in effect, can we start like maybe ticketing them or citing the parents because of this? Instead of keep telling them to, you know, move on.
We can work with Acting Chief Majeski and make sure that the officers, especially now that the spring season hopefully is upon us.
We are planning on to address that.
Yeah, because I mean, it's been going on since last year. That's why I mean, keep telling them to keep moving. You know, and all they do is, you know, a couple hours later they'll end up coming right back, and you have to call them again too. You know, and that's why we have an ordinance. I thought, you know, no skateboarding, no rollerblading, no riding scooters, no loitering.
You have the non-emergency police number, correct? To be able to call the station?
I dial 911
You dial 911? Okay.
to be recorded.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else at this time that would like to address Borough Council with a concern? Mr. Vicente, can I have the treasurer's report, please?
Mr. President, the general fund balance, February 1, 2014, was $221,088. We had an excess of general fund revenues over expenses of $106,338. The balance end of month, February 28, 2014, was $245,157.78.
Council, you've heard the treasurer's report. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion to accept the treasurer's report as read and make it part of the permanent minutes.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Cash receipts and disbursements journal.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that cash receipts and disbursements journals, all bills be paid and all monies deposited.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Vicente, the code enforcement report, please.
Mr. President, 25 inspections were performed, 5 work stop orders violations and their citations were issued, 17 new work permits were issued, 11 licenses were issued. The Codes Department received $2,507 in the month ending February 28, 2014.
Council, you've heard the code enforcement report for the month ending February 28, 2014. What's your pleasure?
Mr. President, I make a motion to accept the minutes of code enforcement for the month of February and make part of permanent minutes.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Vicente, the police report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The police department had 393 calls for service in February. 173 citations were issued. There were 7 accidents in the month. There were 11 thefts in the month. There were 38 total parking citations issued in February, and the police department made 29 criminal arrests in the month.
Council, you've heard the police report for the month of February 2014. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion that we accept the police report as read and make it part of the permanent minutes.
Second it.
Motion made and second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Vicente, the fire report, please.
Mr. President, the fire department responded to 19 alarms in February, 6 per day, 12 were by night. Total members responding was 175, which is over 9 firemen per alarm. On Monday, January 27th, 9 members of the fire company attended RIT awareness that was held at Station 48. On January 29th, 14 members attended Principles of Engine Co-op that was held at Station 12. On the 15th and the 20th of the month, 3 line officers attended preparation for initial company operations at Delco ESTC. The Eddystone Fire Company standard operating guidelines and the cadet/junior program packets have been completed and are now in effect.
Council, you've heard the fire report for the month of February 2014. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion that we accept the fire report and make it part of the permanent minutes. Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Council, the next item in the package is the proposal dated 10th of February 2014 from Steve, we'll just call him Stevie G, and that is to provide a computer hardware upgrade here at the administration offices. There's actually, I'll put it out as 2 motions. The first motion would be for us to purchase directly through Tiger Direct the hardware upgrades, which have a total cost of $2,008.67. Can I have a motion, please?
So ordered, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion will carry. The second part would be to have Stevie G do the installation once the computer upgrades do arrive here at the Borough, and the total cost for the installation would be $950. Can I have a motion, please?
So ordered.
Second.
Motion made and second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
President, should I contact Stevie G or will you be in contact?
I can send him a note. I'll send Stevie G a note. Essentially, the only thing I will need is the borough has a account directly with Tiger Direct.
You need the information on the Tiger.
Correct.
Okay, no problem.
He may have it already,
Okay.
because he's ordered that type of equipment for the police department downstairs already. So he may have it. If he doesn't, I'll reach out to you and say, can you provide the information?
Okay, great.
Next item in the package is the Emergency Communications Network proposal to have the borough purchase what they call their Code Red system. The Code Red system would essentially be the borough's opportunity to put out mass communication to our residents for both emergency as well as non-emergency information, and we could send that information out, whether it would be via a telephone call to a landline or a mobile phone, as well as a text message to a mobile phone or an email. The cost per year is $2,500 per year, and the agreement we would enter in with ECN would be for a 3-year term. Council can have a motion to purchase the ECN Code Red notification system.
So ordered, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion made in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion will carry. Upcoming public meetings. Beth, I see on the calendar that you've got a meeting at 7 o'clock tomorrow for
Yep.
the firehouse and fire marshal.
Yep.
Dave and Danielle, you've got a meeting next Tuesday for Parks and Recreation at Lighthouse Hall at 7 o'clock. And then on the 25th, which is a Tuesday, correct, Dave?
Yes.
We've got, starting at 6 o'clock, and I do have to make a correction on that. Starting at 6 o'clock, there's a committee meeting with Delcora. Immediately followed at 7 o'clock by a meeting with the Buildings and Beautification Committee. And then, I'm sorry, see, I gotta put my glasses on. Let me back up with my glasses on. A meeting of the Zoning and Code Enforcement Committee is at 6 o'clock here at Borough Hall, followed at 7 by a meeting with the Delcora Committee, followed by 8 with a meeting of the Buildings and Beautification Committee. General updates is with the website development plan. We talked about the upgrade of the Borough of Eddystone website at the workshop meeting last Monday. We continue to move forward with the process of soliciting and selecting proposals. And Glenn, I did want to address the email that you sent to Borough Council about the website that you had produced. My first comment is it was spot on. The information, the content, it was what we're looking for is being able to represent the Borough of Eddystone. But I do want you to understand that we've started the process already of starting to solicit proposals. And I think it would only be fair to the folks that we've already been in contact with, number one, to let them follow through with their proposal. But as long as you don't have an objection, what I would like to do is actually share that website with them to say, hey, this is really what we're looking for. And we have to balance what we put out for a professional to go build and what we control as a borough. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that, in order to keep this website fresh, in order to make sure that the news and the meetings and the calendars are current, that we as a borough have that obligation to be able to put that information in. It's just would not behoove us or the taxpayers to continue to spend hundreds of dollars to have somebody input information that quite frankly we could do ourselves. And that is really where I've kind of turned this whole proposal process now, is to say, okay, you know, we're looking at someone to potentially do the framework, give us a real professional look, but leave this thing open so that we can control the content and we can input the content. So with that being said, we'll look at the April meeting. I should have all of the proposals in place. The other thing that I really need to get an education on is the security measures associated with a website. We've got computer whizzes that can go in, hack into a website, and that was something that was brought up during the discussions with the different designers. And the other one, and I'm reaching for the terminology, but I believe it was called reactive mobile, so that
so that it formats automatically so that you can view it properly on a cell phone or something.
So if somebody looks it on a cell phone, it comes up in a different type of format so that you would be able, and that's something that actually has to be programmed in to be able to have that ability, that if you're on a smartphone or you're on a tablet, and I sometimes hate to put Ms. Ormsby on the spot, but the Daily Times has that. When I'm looking at the articles on my iPhone, it's got a different format than what the full website is. And that's something that each of the web designers that I've met with to date, they've emphasized that you want to have that mobility because of the fact that folks are accessing your site, whether it be on the side of the road in their car or whether it be on their tablet, and you want to be able to make sure that you're able to get your information out in those different formats. So that's some of the stuff that, in my opinion, I think it's sometimes worth that professional cost to make sure that you've got that mobility.
That's just in the template for the website. If they buy a template, even if you spend $40 on a template for your website, you can buy that already built in. So it's not. Usually they're going to buy a template too, or else they're going to have that in there.
But I agree with you. We've got to balance what the cost is versus what we can do ourselves, and we want to make sure that we as a borough are controlling that content. That we're the ones that are going to best market ourselves to folks that are prospectively going to look in to use to call Eddystone their new home.
Can I say something briefly?
Absolutely.
One thing is, I was talking to a company out in Camp Hill. Is actually the company that does the Association of Boroughs in Pennsylvania website. And one of the things I was talking to them, and they sounded very good until they said to me, "Well, we use our own proprietary content management system," and I'm not sure that I would want to buy into a company that's using a proprietary system that only they control. The other anecdote that I read on the web was about someone who had a plumbing business and had been working with a web developer for several years and had been paying him to develop a website and paying him to register the domain and do all these things that you need to do. And when he came to a time where he wanted to part ways and go to another developer, that developer said, "Well, that's fine, your website will cost you $8,000 if you want to take it, because the website belongs to me."
Right.
And so that's one thing that I want to look at. And two other things real quick. Do you have a timeline for when you're going to make this decision? And the reason I ask that is just in general, the borough really needs to have a website that is current. Because if this goes on for 6 months, I think the borough's going to suffer.
Sometimes I'm a little too aggressive in the timelines that I set for myself, which is one of my personal shortcomings. But I'd really like to be able to at least start to enter into an agreement with somebody before the next council meeting.
You mean,
So we would take action at the April meeting.
well, if they're worth their salt as website developers, to develop this website that we're talking about should only take them about 5 hours, I would guess.
I'm hearing numbers of 6 to 10 weeks.
Well, but they must have more important customers than you. The only other thing I wanted to say was off the subject, but I wanted to clarify what I was saying about a good company and a bad company. I think that this Eddystone Rail Company, generally speaking, I think they seem like a very good company. They have been very open to us, and all of this rail stuff and the oil stuff and everything is pretty tightly regulated by the federal agencies that are involved. So when I was referring to a good company versus a bad company, I was talking about a bad company being Camden Metals, which was a totally irresponsible company from everything that I could find out about it. So, I just wanted to say that I'm not saying that Eddystone Rail is a bad company. I think they're pretty good.
All right. I appreciate that. I've got testimony in front of the House of Representatives that said I thought they were a good company, and I felt the need to come to their rescue and clarify the statement, so I appreciate that, Glenn. Eddystone Hall rental agreement, Karen, you have some updates that you could share with everybody?
Actually I do, but I would like to table this for next month after I have my meeting at the end of the month. I'm still waiting for some information to come in. I'm reaching out to other neighborhoods and other halls.
Okay.
So I would like to table it for next month and then have a total draft.
Okay. Yeah, the agreement that's in your package this evening is, that is clearly marked as a draft agreement. It's just something that I believe we need to put together to make sure that there is some type of relationship between the renter and the borough who would control the hall. And what are we looking at? Maybe modifying this sometime prior to the next council meeting?
Yes, because I want to, I'm reaching out, like Brookhaven offers their residents a special discount. I just want to try to compile all my information and then put it into a draft so that it looks cleaner. Tweak it. I have to see how much work I can get done before we can rent out White House Hall.
It used to be $50.
I just want to make sure that we don't lose the spring wedding season.
We're not, I mean, there's
Potential rentals
already,
with Joe Hughes.
but this has to get done because we already have people that have it booked.
Okay.
There are bookings.
Bookings at Joe Hughes.
Joe Hughes.
Okay.
I also have somebody that wants to book White House Hall for June.
Okay.
For the Lighthouse Hall? Yeah, it's an Eddystone resident. They want for a graduation party June 7th. Which? White House Hall. I gotta get over here. Kitchen will be off limits. Kitchen will be off limits.
The next bullet point is the Police and Public Safety Committee meeting review. We did hold a committee meeting on the 5th of March at 6 o'clock for the Police and Public Safety Committee. Two documents that are in your package. There's a one-page agenda as well as a 4-page transcription of the meeting minutes. Borough Council, we've had an opportunity to review both the agenda as well as the minutes. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the agenda as well as the minutes for the Police and Public Safety Committee, please.
Make a motion to accept the police and public safety minutes for 3/5/2014 and making part of the permanent record.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. A few things that I did want to point out that were discussions that occurred. First, I want to thank Alan, Mayor Reeves, and Ed Macheski for taking the time to sit down and have our first of a series of 4 Police and Public Safety Committee meetings. And I will note that the meeting was held in sunshine on Wednesday early evening. However, no members of the public were in attendance. But there was some real good discussion that I wanted to take the opportunity to inform the public about this evening. First, we're working with Bob Gleam, who is our Emergency Management Coordinator, and making sure that the evacuation horn, as well as the fire siren down in the village, are back operational and functional. We've set a goal to have that work completed before the end of March. Also wanted to make sure that we point out that we will be welcoming the bike patrol back to Eddystone. The first shift for the bike patrol is going to be scheduled for the 23rd of May. And I always get my holidays mixed up. Somebody help me with the holiday, Memorial Day. So we've had an opportunity, Acting Chief Macheski actually brought a prototype of the shirt that's going to be ordered for the uniform, and the bike patrol will be back on the 23rd. One of the things that I thought was a terrific idea, and there'll be additional information to come, but considering all of the support that has been thrown behind the bike patrol and the fact that that program is going to be back up and running, we thought it would be very nice to invite the community to gather here at Borough Hall at 6 o'clock on that Friday evening, and we can do a ride-along for the folks that, the officers that are on the bike. Depending on how many folks join us, we might have to have a patrol car behind us for protection, but that's something that's definitely on the calendar, and as the date gets a little closer, we will have some more information to share with everybody. But no, bike patrol, the pedal bikes. We've had some drug awareness education that's occurred. I'm hoping that everyone has had an opportunity. The District Attorney's Office through the Delco Heroin Awareness Task Force had a meeting over at Ridley High School on the 5th of February, and our partners over at Ridley Park Police Department put a drug awareness forum on the 27th of February at the Ridley Middle School. But Acting Chief Macheski's been working to develop a trifold pamphlet on the subject of heroin awareness, and we've got a couple things that I just need to tweak out of that pamphlet, and we would make that available for distribution for the residents. I'm sorry that I didn't get it done in time for the newsletter for Town Watch, but we'll coordinate it. But we're also working to host a drug awareness event here in Eddystone. We're looking at the September timeframe. Some other things that were discussed at the police meeting. The officers are all very excited that looks like after how many years, Mayor Reeves, they will be replacing the service weapons?
1997.
1997? Temple math.
And 18 years.
18 years?
How many times do they fall?
So the officers are very excited that we've got a dealer that is bringing a half a dozen of the different .40 caliber handguns. They're going to do some training with some firing of the weapons at the range, get a good feel, really take the officer's opinion of what feels most comfortable, and then certainly start taking a look at the dollars and cents. But it's exciting for them that they're getting something new here probably in the next, what do you think, 3 months, 4 months?
I think we should ask him that.
Come back from my disability and the surgery on his
And then the last thing that I want to point out is that, you know, the officers have had that opportunity for some additional training. Several patrol officers just completed some street survival training in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Officer Gare is scheduled to attend some training to become a certified rifle instructor, so we'll have a certified rifle instructor within our own ranks. And Acting Chief Macheski is looking into having the Borough of Eddystone Police Department host some taser gun training here later in the year. So training opportunities for the officers is also happening. That's all I have to report for the Police and Public Safety Committee. Yes?
We were talking about timelines. What's the timeline on the Code Red system?
Code Red system, we made action this evening to authorize the purchase. Tomorrow morning I'll call Bob Wood, who is our service representative with ECN. It should take him a day or two to turn around the contract documents. Probably be at least a week or two for us to look at the documents, go through the legal review, go back and forth with comments. Once we do execute it, it is a in-the-box product that is ready to roll out immediately. However, the success of the program itself is depending on the participation that you've got from the residents. Is they have a database. They've got a database of telephone numbers, both landlines as well as cell phones. And that's the first thing they're going to do is to roll out that database. And we'll take a look at the map of Eddystone and basically be able to pinpoint, you know, how many residents are in a given block and how many telephone numbers that we have. The second phase of implementation is that, you know, we as a borough have an opportunity to provide them with telephone numbers to say, you know, okay, they're not going to capture the telephone numbers for all of our police officers, so we'll be supplying that information so that when we send out a message that the residents of Eddystone are getting it, but also our police officers are getting it. And then the third thing that they do to implement it is to actually post a sign-up sheet on their website and hopefully on our website, and it gives the residents an opportunity to actually sign up for the service so that, you know, they may have captured in their database your home telephone number. However, you know, if you're like me, I don't use the home phone. I don't even have the home phone anymore. It is all cellular phone as well as email, and it gives you that opportunity to sign up. Their rollout procedure, they'll send out what they call a verification message to everybody. Once you get the verification message, at that point in time, you've got that opportunity as a resident to say, listen, I don't want the service. I just don't want to be bothered. You can completely disassociate yourself like to have. So
There are some you can opt out of.
there are some that you can opt out of, absolutely. And we as a borough can actually customize, you know, the different, we can have residents select multiple boxes on what type of information is important to you personally. So, but the long way of answering your question is I would say by June, it would be completely up and running.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
When you started this report on the Police and Safety Committee, you mentioned that it was done in sunshine, and just for anyone who might be watching the videotape, that means that you're in compliance with the sunshine law, which means it was an open meeting,
Yes.
open to the public, and I've noticed that at the meetings I've attended, you've been giving a schedule of all these council committee meetings, so that if you're aware of the schedule, you can attend these meetings, and they're, as I said, they're open to the public, and that's, I think, I don't know if that was always the case, but that's a good open government policy, and I think it's an improvement. I'm not aware that it was possible to attend those meetings in the past, but I just wanted to compliment the council that you've made that change.
I think it's always been possible for you to attend the meetings in the past. However, and this is just my personal opinion, that we did not hold those meetings on a regular basis. You know, what we're looking at now is the process of very early on, when we swore in the new council members, to make sure that we establish the committees quickly, to make sure that we establish a schedule for when the committees are all going to meet, and then to, put an additional level of accountability on everybody's shoulders to make sure that we've got goals that we're looking to satisfy in 2014 for every committee. Unfortunately, the Highway and Sanitation Committee meeting minutes did not make the package. We were having some computer issues, which is going to be resolved here with the purchase of the upgrades from Stevie G. So those meeting minutes will actually be in the package for the April council meeting for us to take the same action of accepting those minutes and making them part of the permanent record. Very quick recycling update. The February delivery to the MRF facility was made, and Gene said it was on my blotter, and it is 4.76 tons. So it almost matched what we did in January. We were just under 5 tons in January. We were just under 5 tons in February, and now that we're starting to get some real data, what you'll see is that we're going to put a bar chart together to show last year, 2013, municipal solid waste, and 2014 showing what went to the dump and what was recycled, so that we can start doing a comparison of the amount of material that we were actually saving from going into the landfill. February's recycling tip, folded up. Cardboard boxes are all able to be recycled, just for the conserving the space in your can. They just ask that you break those boxes open, fold them up, and then slide them in the can. So the February tip is fold up, break down all your cardboard boxes. Quick announcements, Miss Councilwoman Tatasciore, the Women's History Month.
I had a conversation with Mr. Durazio today, and he said that we're on for April 14th for the presentation of the essay contest. Next week they're working on PASA, so he said they have plenty of time to prepare for the essay contest. And I think everybody knows we have an essay contest every March for Women's History Month, and the kids come up, and we have 2 winners from the elementary school. And the kids come up and read their essays, and then they make a presentation of a bouquet of flowers to the person that they wrote about. It's a really nice way to celebrate Women's History Month, and
they get a Visa gift card.
And a Visa gift card as well. We used to give savings bonds, but they're so hard to get anymore.
They're even worth it.
You know, they're worth that much. But a Visa gift card, the kids like. And that's it.
Councilwoman Thompson, the Eddystone Drug Awareness Poster Contest.
Yes, we're doing a drug awareness poster contest for kindergarten through 9th grade, where the kids will create a drug prevention poster. Council will vote on the winners, and they will also be posted, all the posters will be posted up here at the council chambers for anyone to view. I did talk to Despa, we're going to keep the dates the same. However, when they turn in their posters, I will notify them of the change.
Okay, great, perfect. When you say we'll keep the dates the same, the
already,
due date
it was
will
already
be the
printed.
same? Okay.
But what I'll do is when they hand in their poster, I'll notify them that the announcement of the winners will take place in May.
Okay.
May 12th.
We're fine, yes, May 12th.
And also, Councilwoman Thompson, the Eddystone Community Cancer Walk.
We're having a really good response on the community cancer walk. Right now, we're at 70 people who responded to say that they will walk, and that's not including who they will bring with them. I'll hopefully have a better count for Chief Mocheski once I start getting in the forms, the registration forms. But all money will go to the American Cancer Society, and we'll have a nice little presentation down at the field for the luminary bags and everything like that. So it should be a nice event.
Is that went out with the newsletter?
Yes.
Did the newsletters go out for town watch?
A couple went out to the village, and then we'll be hitting the rest of the town probably tomorrow because it's supposed to be myself.
There's a flyer in here though.
Yes, there's a file.
Roundtable discussion, Mayor Reeves? Councilwoman Gross?
I'm good.
Councilman Patterson?
I have a few things, Mr. President. Dave Bennett, a volunteer down on the rec board, has turned in his resignation due to his new job at the Eddystone Rail. He's still volunteering for our fire department and for our scouts in Eddystone. Also, we signed a contract with ADU for our abatement properties in town. We've had 3 to date, and one's being sold with the new owner taking care of all the issues that was wrong with it, and the other 2 were already completed with ADU. Like we talked about earlier, code enforcement does have a meeting here on the 25th at 6, and it's open to the public. Anyone who wants to come out, that'd be great. And have a safe and happy St. Patrick's Day. That's everything, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Vice President Reeves?
I have a few things here. I think now that we have a fully staffed police force, I think it's time for us to move forward and reestablish our rank of lieutenant and sergeant. Is there any way we can look into the process of that? Reestablishing the rank?
That's in the minutes, isn't it?
It's actually in my meeting minutes for the police and public safety, and I'm just looking to see the follow-up. I did send an email to John F.X. Riley this afternoon, who is our solicitor for the Civil Service Commission. I asked him to give me some dates, the latter part of March, and I also attached the code language that we have for the ranking of the officers. Mayor Reeves, correct me, we have, our code says lieutenant, but it does not specifically say sergeant. However, there is language that we can designate classifications as we see fit in Borough Council. What I did was ask John F.X. Riley to review that language to see if it was strong enough that we would be able to put a sergeant on, or whether we had to modify the Borough Code prior to starting the testing procedure. But however, he's going to meet the latter part of March, and we'll at least start the discussion on the testing protocol.
Okay, well, the language for sergeant is in, I believe it is in the contract.
It is the contract.
It's fine, okay.
We did have a sergeant in the past.
Okay, so it would also fall under past practice then as well.
Right.
Okay, and another thing that was one of my goals,
No, Bob Mills.
one of my goals for, under finance, was to give our non-uniform part-timers a raise. They haven't had one in 7 years. I believe that the part-time, like our part-time fire and highway are making $12.02 an hour. I would like to make a motion to give them $1 an hour raise. $12.02. It's been 7 years since they've had a raise.
You're making that a motion?
I'm making that a motion.
Can we possibly table the motion until next month, until we have got an opportunity to have discussions with Joe Vicente, who is our treasurer, just to make sure from a cash flow standpoint we
That's
can.
fine, but one of my goals was to get it done before the first quarter.
The other thing that I'm thinking out loud is,
7 years.
7 years, yeah, what the hell's one more month?
we were looking at the next stage of increases for the police officer. I believe is July 1. So part of the collective bargaining agreement would be as we make those changes July 1. I believe we're also making an increase with the administrative staff, and we'll be able to do the part-timers at the same time on July 1. Just thinking out loud, don't.
I'd rather do it before then. At least for the non-uniform, how many people are we talking?
We're looking at all the crossing guards as well, right?
I guess they do, yeah, I guess we do. How many crossing guards are there, 6?
Would that also include the paid staff down at the firehouse?
Yes, that's non-uniform, yeah, the
Okay, I'm just asking.
yeah. The non-uniform part-timers.
If you would be willing to entertain us just tabling it until we get a list of all of the employees that would be affected, and have a discussion with our treasurer just to make sure that from a financial standpoint, we've got the cash flow to be able to make it happen.
Do you want table for next month?
Next month, yes.
Okay.
Don't let me forget, because I know you won't.
Not a problem. Tim, put that on the agenda for next month.
I just texted Jim.
Okay.
Calculate.
Yeah, we might be able to get an answer then.
Maybe, but.
Anything else?
I think that's all I have.
Councilwoman Tatasciore.
There was just one thing, since I have this lovely calendar in front of me. I see that camp is almost here, depending upon when the kids get out. So I wonder if I could get together with Dave and talk about how we're gonna handle camp. Who's gonna run it, how we're gonna hire people, and I know that we do a background check, right?
Right.
We need to make sure that those things are in place so that we don't have an issue like one that happened this past summer.
Right, yes, we can do that.
Okay.
Do you want to start the application process? Is that?
Well, soon.
Well, yeah, you should, because I don't know how long it takes to get the background check.
2 to 3 weeks for the child background check.
They have to be Eddystone residents and.
Yeah, what other requirements for applications for camp? First off, what's the tentative dates for camp? And I say tentative just because we don't know what really school district's gonna do with all of the snow days, whether they're gonna push the summer vacation or not.
Monday
June
through
23rd,
Thursdays
24th, 25th, and 26th.
to start.
In all of July?
July up until the 23rd, 25th, I'm sorry.
It'll be 30 days from whenever it starts.
Right, it's 5 weeks.
Right.
And what are the hours that the camp is?
It's 12 to 3, Monday through Thursday.
And the kids do love it. And it is a wonderful program.
We require the Pennsylvania State and Pennsylvania Child Background Check. The state is instant, you can get it right online for $10. And the Pennsylvania Child is also $10, but you have to send it away for that. And that's also, they say $10 for that.
Yes.
And that takes about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how fast they're.
How many camp counselors do we need?
I cut it back last year. Last year, I think we were given 10, but I cut it back to 9. And I didn't have anybody run it per se. It was up to each individual counselor to run their group to save money because we were paying the person who was running it extra. So instead, each counselor ran their own group.
And it was a good camp this year.
What did you pay last year?
9 something an hour. Tim would probably be able to pull it up. Whatever, I think it was like 172.
Something like that.
It's whatever the part-timer is.
So if any residents are interested in putting an application in for summer camp, it'll begin the 23rd of June, tentatively, depending on what really school district does with all of the snow days that we've seen this year. Run through the end of July. It'll be 3 hours from lunchtime, 12 noon to 3 p.m., Monday through Thursday.
They are required to clean.
And they are required to pay for the background checks, correct?
Right.
Okay.
We have a lot
But,
of college students too, I think.
Yeah.
that-
Tim, if you could let Tina know to put a couple packages, employment packages together,
They have to be 18 years of age, correct?
I'll send her some instructions on what the minimum requirements would be.
And I think 10's a good number. At least.
Who's going to go through the applications?
Rec board?
Rec board, administration?
Sure.
We should get started.
Way to think ahead, Despo.
Thank you. Think I was home doing nothing?
Councilwoman Thompson.
I really don't have anything except, I just wanted to announce that the Eddystone boys team, 17 and under, this is their first year in what's called the Chester Pike League, and they won first place in the championship. They were coached by Mike Myers. I just wanted to congratulate them.
Mr. Catania, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Yes, we have an on-site meeting with the sewer contractor, National Pipe Cleaning, for the sanitary sewer project that is presently under contract. That will be a technical meeting just with the contractor alone. At that meeting, then we'll get the schedule to see exactly when and where the program will proceed. We'll let the council know exactly what that schedule will be. The other thing that I have, last month, we mentioned the MS4 program, the Stormwater Management Program. Our first report is due the 14th of July. It's due to be filed with the DEP, and we expect to have that done in plenty of time to file that. That's all that I have.
Jumping back to the sewer project, just for a quick second, if I understand the project correctly, what we're going to be doing is putting a liner system in to the existing sanitary sewer. And when you do that work, the residents that would be affected by this liner, they would see a disruption in their water service as well as their sewer service for a short period of time.
Yes, and they will be advised exactly when that'll be.
Thank you, sir. The only thing that I'd like to mention is that Eddystone proudly hosted the Pennsylvania House of Representatives Committee on Veterans Affairs and Emergency Preparedness this past Wednesday. We had our representatives from Harrisburg that sit on that committee travel to Eddystone, and we had a hearing that specifically discussed the way that the rail transporters would be bringing the crude by rail into the Eddystone Rail Company transfer facility. The attendance exceeded Representative Hackett's expectations. Representative Hackett was the representative who coordinated the meeting. I think we set the room for 50, and we probably had 80, 85 easily.
Easily.
And, you know, this was something that was live webcasted on their website, so it was an opportunity for, you know, anybody in the Commonwealth that is being affected by this crude by rail industry. They got to see this hearing, and what was nice about it is that it was Eddystone that the hearing was being conducted in. So, but the setup, I wanted to publicly thank Edie Della Rocca from Edie's catering service. I called her on a Tuesday evening and said, I understand that the hearing is tomorrow. However, it would be nice if we were to be able to put some blue aprons around the tables to dress it up and make it look a little more professional. And she immediately went over to the place where she rents her linens from, and you know, we were able to dress the tables up in a very professional manner. She also went out of her way to make sure that we had coffee and juices to be served at the hearing. And I also wanted to thank the folks in the fire department. They helped not only with the setup, not only with the making sure that additional chairs were put out for the overflow crowd. They also did all of the cleanup, and I also understand that they had some technical ability to be able to hardwire the internet connection so that when the folks came in with, I think it was probably about $75,000 worth of television equipment to put a very high quality video together, they were able to plug their Cat5 cable right into the wall, and without any issues or problems. I did go over to the audio-visual guys and say, how you making out? And they said, we wish every facility was set up this way. So, you know, once again, kudos to you, Chuck, in making sure that, you know, our data points were there, and thank you to the fire folks for making sure that it got hooked up in a timely manner. So, and I also, you know, I understand Ed Duchesky was there helping with those folks, so just wanted to put those thank yous out to these individuals so that Eddystone was represented in the very best light possible. That's all I have. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So ordered.
Meeting adjourned.